Hi, this is the sick video in the Losing Amelie series. Just carrying on from where I just left off. In the family room at the hospital. So while we were in there, this stuff's really hard to piece together. So both Bex and I have sat down and talked about it. I can remember different thought processes. I can remember different feelings and at different times and things that happened. But in terms of stitching them together chronologically, it's quite difficult. So what I'll do is just mention what I can within context, within the right context in terms of a chronological view of it. But what I probably will also do is find myself jumping back to stuff like I've done a few times already, but I think from here on is where, this particular piece is where it's quite difficult to remember stuff, because I think emotionally heightened from this point. And there was a lot of tough stuff to do and a lot going on. So anyway, the couple of things I wanted to mention that I can't remember exactly when they happened or how often, but while we were in that room or while we were around for the next, I don't know how long, few hours, multiple times we were like checked in on by the nurses and even the paramedics, like the three paramedics that came to our house. There was the guy that was the driver, that was sort of the head one, if that's the thing. He kept checking in on us, and Bex found that quite comforting. She actually shared with me one of the things he said to her was that it might feel, well, it will feel awful now, but it will get easier, and Bex found that quite comforting. He was a really nice guy, and I don't remember his name. I don't even know if he took his name. But again, sort of those three individuals that came to my house and tried to save Amelie's life. Again, I was sort of people I consider heroes in this story. They were amazing what they done and tried to do, but then also the immediate aftercare that they gave to me and to Bex was just unreal. And they were going through it as well themselves. It didn't not affect them. It wasn't something that they just brushed off. It was something that they were quite emotionally impacted by. I can remember at one point, if I came out the family room and looked left, that's where the paramedics were, and there was another paramedic team there as well of three. I assume they go in threes, I don't know, but there were three, and a different three, but and I can remember seeing the woman that had come into responded to Amelie, or Amelie's call. She was crying. I remember seeing that. So I didn't want to discredit. So I don't remember when all these conversations were had and at what points. But there was multiple and people constantly checking us, and I didn't want to leave that out of the story. But I don't exactly know where it all fits in. But yeah, sort of rest assured that there were a lot of people that cared about us, and we felt it, and it was amazing. We then had to let our families know, and I won't go into Bex and Bex's family. That's her family, that's her story, but they're to be told. But my family and my friends and who I had to tell, these were probably some of the most difficult. Well, without a doubt, the conversation with my mum was the most difficult one I've ever had. The most difficult thing that I've ever gone through, including everything I've said in these videos. It was awful. But yeah, so let me sort of talk through that. I don't remember the order quite and when things were done, but we had to figure out who's going to be told. Remember, I wanted my mum and dad to know. My mum and dad are separated. So it was a minimum of 2 phone calls, and I wanted them to know before other people. I didn't want, not that they would have found out on social media, I didn't want other people to know before them. And then the thing was about getting older. So my dad, as it turned out, was actually on his last day of a holiday with his wife. I think they were in Portugal. So I tried to call him, and you can imagine he probably had a heavy night the night before and wasn't up or even responsive at that sort of time in the morning. So I don't remember leaving messages or if I text people. It'd be interesting to speak to my dad actually. And what I will try and do once I've gone through this story is actually bring some of these people and sit down with them and talk to them, like me and them, so you can sort of get a better understanding, because to them it was the most important thing and it's like a single thing that they focus on, but to me it was like one of many things, and it's hard to patch it all together. But I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have said Amelie's dead or anything like that. I would have just said, you need to contact me, it's really important, as soon as possible, as soon as you get this message. And I would have, and I think I would have texted that and left a voicemail. But anyway, deciding to tell my mum. So my mum lives alone. Amelie was her only grandchild, first and only grandchild, and my mum adored Amelie, and Amelie adored my mum. They had a really lovely bond that we would often comment on. So I remember at a very young age, I was not going to say very young, 6-7 months, my mum came round once, and as she was getting out of the car, Bex stood at the front door with Amelie, and Amelie started waving and getting really excited as soon as she saw my mum, and that was just amazing. And that just continued, like, to the point where if my mum and Amelie were in the same room, and there were multiple other people in that room, the only two people that my mum and Amelie wanted to speak to and to interact with was each other. Just an amazing relationship that they had. And I didn't want my mum to be at home alone when I told her that Amelie was dead. So I was saying that I should, my mum lives in Portsmouth. We were in Frimley, so it's about an hour's drive, just under an hour. So I was saying, I'll just go in the car and go down. I didn't have my car with me, obviously. I arrived in a police car. And I was like, okay, well, I remember talking to Bex's mum and dad, saying I'll get a taxi home, then I'll drive down there. And they were like, you're in no state to drive. And I didn't feel that bad. I felt that was a bit of an overestimation. But they were, obviously right. It was a stupid idea to try and drive, but I felt that I was sort of functioning normally. But and they said, you can't leave anyway. You've been told you have to stay. And I was like, yeah, but okay, well, I'll have to wait. I'll wait, and then I'll tell my mum later, and I'll just delay telling everyone. And they're like, you can't. And they were like, okay, and I was like, they know my mum. And they were like, is there anyone that you can tell that can go around and tell your mum? And I was like, there's no way I'm telling my mum's friends before I tell my mum. That's just not possible. And they said, well, what about telling your sister? So my sister lives in Portsmouth as well. I was like, yeah, that's the answer. That's what I need to do. So I don't know. So we're at 8.5 minutes. This is going to go over the sort of 10, 12 minute mark. I don't know what it's going to be, but I do want to finish this piece. So I thought, okay, what I'll do is, I thought I can't tell my sister either directly. She isn't, I was going to say isn't strong enough, but just, it would have been the wrong thing to tell my sister directly like that. And I thought, okay, well, I think that it's her fiance, Nikki. I'll call her, so I'll call Nikki, and I'll get Nikki to tell my sister Liana. They live together, obviously. And then the two of them could go around and tell my mum. And that's what I thought I would do. And then the other thing, so like I said, my phone was still on 1% battery. So I couldn't call them from my phone. And that's probably why, I was going to say, that's probably why my dad didn't pick up. I can't remember if I picked up from my dad first. Like, it might have happened second, but I remember I made phone calls from Bex's phone. And I was getting the numbers from my phone, and I was just hoping that my phone didn't die. But so anyway, that happened. That was fine. But yeah, so I think Liana didn't pick up because she didn't recognise Bex's number, and then Nikki did. And I said hello and, you know, normal salutation, and sort of said, is Liana with you? You know, and she said yeah, and I told Nikki before I told Liana. I said, look, I need you to tell her something, you know, what's happened. And then Liana was on the phone, and yeah, I was trying not to cry because I needed to sound normal or sound coherent on the phone, but trying to tell them that, you know, my daughter was, or their niece was dead. Just out of nothing, you know, like that's the weirdest part, the hardest part with this, is that it's a huge shock factor. People, my daughter wasn't ill, Amelie wasn't ill, she was healthy, she was happy, there was no, it was just like any other day. It's completely unexpected and a very difficult phone call to make. So anyway, I told my sister, she just went quiet. Well, she didn't just go quiet, sorry, she was like getting me to repeat it, like, what do you mean, what, you know, saying, Amelie, do you mean, what's happened to her, you know, and I was like, and I remember having to keep repeating myself again and again for a couple of minutes, and then she just went quiet, and I was just sort of sat there, sort of stood there on the phone. Bex was with me, it was just me and Bex in the room, and then my mum came on the phone, and I didn't realise my mum was with them. So my mum came on the phone, I was like, Steve, what's happened to Amelie? Because she just heard Liana. And I was just gutted because I hadn't built up to it. It was good that Mum was with Nikki and Liana. And I remember I put my head against the wall, and Bex was like rubbing my back or holding me or something. And I was just like, I just remember closing my eyes, and I was like, I have to tell you that, you know. And I told her. And it turned out, so my mum and my sister and my sister's fiance and her mum and her sister, so Nikki's sister, it's like a little group of 5 of them that do loads of things together all the time. They've got a nice little social life, and the reason they were all together so early on a Sunday was that they were at a car boot that they were selling gear at, so they actually been there to, you know, a couple of cars to sell stuff. I don't know how long they've been there. Yes, Mum took the phone and I was asking me what was going on. I told her. I don't remember what I said. I remember saying that Amelie's dead. I remember saying I'm sorry over and over again. She's gone, she's dead. I remember saying those words. And then my mum just screamed, like, and even Bex heard it. She like shouted no, I think that was, but like it was awful hearing it. It was just so hard. And then Nikki came on the phone. She just said, I think it was Nikki, it might have been Liana, but one of them, then they just explained, like, we're going to come and see you, we're at a car boot sale, we're going to pack up and drive up. Obviously told them I was at the hospital. And and that was the end of that phone call. And I was just gutted. I remember thinking, I've got to do more now. I've got to tell more people. None of them were as hard as that phone call. It was awful. I still hate thinking about it. It was terrible. But so I'm going to end this video here, and then I'll pick up talking about the other phone calls I made and how they went. And you know, it won't be as long as that one. That was probably the most important one to sort of labour and talk through. It was quite significant. But thanks. I'll end this one here.